Here at the neonatal intensive care unit of the Bolgatanga Hospital, health workers strive to keep this baby alive. He was born only 2 days ago after just 6 months in the womb. He needs all the special professional attention he can get if he must survive. There are at least 5 babies here at the moment, all born before the expected 37 completed weeks in the womb. And so they need to be given special care before they are discharged. Evelyn Dakwa is a neonatal intensive care nurse here at the Bolgatanga Hospital. Together with her colleagues, she must ensure that all these babies born prematurely receive proper care so that they can go on to live normal, healthy lives.
These are the incubators. This one is incubator with a phototherapy machine. So normally what we do is when a baby comes and we assess, we put them on the incubator, so the preterm babies, we put them on the incubators for 24 hours, and when they are stable, we give them to the mothers to start with the kangaroo mother care. Like those days that this kind of incubators and other things wasn't there, that normally they reject those babies. Now we have all those incubators and other things in our facility.
Not all parents whose preterm babies survived found it so easy to raise them. In some parts of Ghana, there are outmoded traditional beliefs which frown upon babies born before 9 months of gestation. Such babies, even when they survive and grow up, have to face stigma together with their parents. Kojo Agana and his wife are an example of such parents. Their daughter, Amanda, now 11 years old, was born after just 6 months of her mother's pregnancy. At the time, Mr. Agana and his wife were living and working in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. He says his initial reaction when he saw his premature baby was to plan to abscond with his wife and leave the baby to her fate at the hospital.
My own father told me that she's not a living child, that she's not a human being. Some used to say she's a lizard, some used to say she's a cockroach, a lot. Some used to tell me I should go to Bakologo and find Bakologo Suseya and find her whereabouts.
Just like Agana and his wife, Lydia was met with stigma and name-calling from people within her vicinity simply because she gave birth to a premature child.
And the insult, you are giving birth to a rat and you don't let people to think.
El Haratu Amadu works with the Rural Initiatives for Self-Empowerment, Rise Ghana, a local NGO based in the Upper East region. She is in charge of a project called the Mother Baby Friendly Health Facility Initiative. The aim of the project is mainly to promote the well-being of mothers and their unborn or newborn babies. Therefore, she often goes to rural communities to organize advocacy talks.
Even when you go through our antenatal care unit, we always prepare our mothers towards giving birth at 9 months. Forgetting that or not consciously remembering that some women give birth before 9 months. So awareness on how women should prepare themselves that they can give birth before 9 months is not usually discussed at our homes and in our communities.
Stigma and negative beliefs about children born prematurely still exist in Ghana, even though healthcare facilities are capable of helping these babies survive.
Now in Ghana, every year around 140,000, that's 14% of the babies born are premature. That's before completing 39 weeks of pregnancy. 84,000 of these preterm babies die even before reaching 30 days of their life. That's according to UNICEF. It's the underlining theme for our latest Hotline documentary titled Born Too Soon, and it's by Albert Sorry. It also touches on the stigma as well. We saw that in the excerpts that we brought to you. We want to get down and have a full conversation on this. The documentary airs tonight at 8:30 p.m. Please don't miss it. But ahead of that, let's have a conversation with my guest seated, Dr. Kojo Esel. He's a specialist pediatrician with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Also Seth Asafo, who is a psychologist and lecturer at the University of Ghana Medical School. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I want us to just pick up from where that piece ended. Or maybe I should just ask you, what do you make of this subject, this conversation this morning, what we're talking about?
Thank you, Mavi, and good morning to our listeners. I mean, it's an important subject, important topic to talk about, because prematurity is one of the problems that we are having as pediatricians. It's one of the leading causes of death, mortality in our hospitals and our community, and that contributes significantly to the under 5 mortality. Okay. So it's something that we have to talk about.
Maybe said we will talk about the stigma with you, and I couldn't believe that people would call such children names. These are babies.
I mean, it's interesting, and I wouldn't say that it's not common, because we've had lots of mothers dealing with these issues, face significant psychological...
Calling them rats and monkeys?
Well, not entirely rats and monkeys, but the distress that these mothers go through is quite significant. See, in most cases, the distress in itself is enough to make them also detached from society or their babies, and that adds on to the stigma of so you don't have a complete child. So then it's like a cycle that is created. So the preterm baby, what society thinks of the preterm baby, the mother's own distress, and then detachment from the baby, and then it just confirms the story of what everybody's already believing.
Interesting. Doc, you say this is quite familiar with what you do. How common is it? We can even look at your facility alone.
Yes, so in my facility in Kolebu, for example, the preterm delivery rate is around 9.3 to 10% of the deliveries. And then in the NICU, where we admit the premature babies and babies who are sick, about 50% of the babies are preterm babies, and it contributes to about 50% of our mortalities, our death. So it's very important subject.
Why does it happen? I mean, there was one of the, I think in the latter part of the clip, the fact that they ready you for 9 months, but certainly not for less than 9 months.
Yes, wonderful. So every woman expects that when she takes seed, she will go through the 9 months and then have the baby. And the baby, as we always say, bouncy baby and all that. Yeah. However, there are problems that might set in. For example, some mothers, because of their age, if you are a teenager or you are an elderly woman, you are at risk of delivering a premature baby. If you develop hypertension during pregnancy, there's a possibility that you might deliver a preterm baby. Okay. Even if you had a preterm baby before, you're at risk of subsequent premature deliveries. If you develop any infection during a pregnancy, it can also lead you to pregnancy. And most importantly, if you also have 2 or 3 babies in there, your risk of delivering these babies prematurely is quite high. Okay. So all these things are there. Or sometimes, unfortunately, some of the mothers have problems with their womb, the entrance of their womb, and so then the baby cannot stay for a very long time. All this will lead to premature delivery of the baby.
Can you have what you say, like a normal person, not having gone through any of the issues that you've outlined, also having preterm?
Yes, so some in most other cases too, we don't understand why the woman went into labor prematurely. Okay. So these things too are there. So you can be fine, and then your baby will come out. you can go to work the next morning or the next moment you feel like contracting or pushing the baby out and the baby comes out. So all these things are there.
So
there's something,
so interestingly, you know, when they say that physically there was nothing wrong, but then the question to ask is, what about psychologically?
Okay.
Because there are sometimes very like underlying issues of stress, worrying, anxiety, which could predispose a mother to go into early labor. For one. Another significant condition, which is preeclampsia, is something that's normally caused by excessive anxiety or worrying. And these seem to be very normal with most mothers. You know, the fear of, will I even deliver? Will I die during delivery? Would I be a good mother? Will my child go to full term? Now, this is a concept or a mindset that most mothers have. And so there's a constant worry. Now, once you start to worry, the body believes that there's some danger just by thinking about it. And so when there's danger, the usual reaction would be that your heart starts to beat much quicker. And preeclampsia essentially is high blood pressure, especially among mothers. So that could be also another angle or something that goes sometimes unnoticed. Okay. I wouldn't say unnoticed, maybe...
we just probably don't pay a lot of attention to it.
No, I mean, if you're pregnant and you develop pregnancy, preeclampsia most of the time start from when you are 20 weeks going. Okay. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why a mother will develop preeclampsia. Yeah. What do you mean that the hypertension during that time? So the woman will be fine. There won't be any blood pressure issues. But after 20 weeks going, of course, you might develop pressure issues. There are a lot of causes due to the placenta and everything. Okay. But as you said, if you are told that your blood pressure is high, it adds more anxiety to your problem. So maybe that can also lead to that. But even poverty has been noticed to be a cause of premature delivery. So as you said, if you are poor, a lot of stress and all those things might lead you to deliver premature babies. So these are some of the causes of premature delivery or risk factors.
Would all premature babies, obviously not, will they survive? Essentially, what are the chances of survival?
So premature babies, we have categories of premature babies. Okay, so we have the very extreme premature babies, that are babies who are delivered before 28 weeks, and we have the very premature ones between 32 to 28, and then moderate around 34 to 32 weeks, and then late premature babies are around 37 to 34 weeks. So they are
that's almost
almost 10 babies. Yeah. Okay, so the definition is that the baby should be a delivery before 37 completed weeks. That is the definition. All right. So these are the things. So the younger you are, the more you are at risk of the complications and then the death and all that. So so if you are born at 24 weeks or 26 weeks, you are at risk of dying or complications more than somebody who is born at 32 weeks. But I might also say here that in Ghana, for example, if you are born at less than 28 completed weeks, then we don't consider it as a premature baby. In fact, your viability is not considered as such. So those babies are not really counted as premature babies.
Okay, please say it in plain words so we can understand.
So I'm saying that
means that the possibility of the baby not surviving is very high.
Yes, so your possibility of baby not surviving before 28 completed weeks is very, very low. And in Ghana, because we don't have all the gadgets and all those things, by definition, if you are born before 28 completed weeks, you will consider it as a miscarriage.
Wow.
Yes.
Have you had babies survive?
However, if you are born and you come out and you have your heartbeats and you are breathing everywhere, you are taken to the NICU and the doctors will start working on you. We will do everything that we do for any other babies. Some pull through, some don't do.
Okay, before I come to you, I just want to find out if I'm pregnant,
yes, please.
and I am checked, and you tell me that my baby will have to come out earlier than planned. Am I taken through any form of therapy? Is it counseling?
Okay, so as I said, if you are a healthcare provider who provide care for pregnant mothers, i.e. if you are upstairs gynae, if you are a midwife, you have to categorize your pregnancies, okay? So there are mothers who have this risk of delivering preterm babies. As I said, if the mother is is a teenager, he has a risk. If the age is quite advanced, he has a risk. So all these things might come in when you are counseling them. If the mother develops hypertension during the pregnancy, there's a possibility that they develop pregnancy. If the mother is carrying 2 or 3 babies in there, it's a possibility. Okay. So all these are possibilities. So you advise them on that, because we've had mothers, a lot of mothers who will carry 2 or 3 babies and they deliver 3 kilo baby, 2.5 kilo baby. So their possibilities, their risks are higher. But that does not mean that they will deliver. So you counsel them, you tell them these things. And most of the time, yes, if you need to bring the psychologist, you always bring them in. They help us with the counseling because it's a multidisciplinary approach to some of these things.
So practically, are you always available?
Yes, we are. In fact, the Department of Psychiatry is made available at least at every point in time. There are 2 psychologists who are stationed between child health and NICU.
Do I have to request for you to be there for me?
You may not have to request, but your healthcare provider should be able to assess and then make the referral. But to say that at the mother's hostel, for example, there's a full station psychologist who does group sessions with mothers, those who are yet to and those who have already had children.
Okay.
So, like he said, it's multidisciplinary, and it's something that they're actually working on.
I know people who have gone through some of the big facilities who have not had any counseling, or who didn't have counseling.
I mean,
they had no idea what was happening.
Okay.
It was just people moving around them.
All right. So, as Seth said, Kolebu is talking about Kolebu. When he said mother's hostel, it's a place in Kolebu where the mothers whose babies are admitted stay and all that. So there's an office for the psychologists over there. So if you are in Kolebu, you are what do you call it? You're at advantage compared to maybe living in other facilities. All right. However, I mean, you have psychologists everywhere. That's if your provider think that you need one, they will have to contact them, and because it is multidisciplinary, you need these people to work. Even when the babies are admitted, you need the psychologist to come in.
Will a baby like that grow up to develop complications in life?
Yes, so there are complications. The complications are divided into 2. There are the immediate complications and then the long-term complications, all right? So if your baby is delivered very preterm or delivered as preterm, one of the complications that they have is that their lungs aren't matured enough. Okay. And so they cannot sustain breathing as you and I can sustain our breathing, okay? And so then you might have to be put on machine, on oxygen and all that. So that's one of the complications. So if you can't survive, if you can't sustain breathing, you will die. So that's one of the complications. 2, because they are very tiny, they have a thin skin, they have their body surface area is larger, and so they tend to lose heat a lot. So they become hypothermic. So their temperature, most of the time, if you don't help them, they can't control their temperatures. Okay. And that's also will kill them. They are also immature, because they are immature, their immune system, their body defense is also very low. So they are at risk of infections and all that. So all these things are something that we have to work, we know, and so we work with them. They can also easily bleed into their head because their vessels in their brains are very tiny. Okay, and so any small thing they can bleed into their head. And this is one of the complications that might lead to long-term issues. Okay, so all these things are there, and even with feeding, because they are very tiny, they can't breastfeed. So if you deliver a baby who is term, immediately he comes out, he just sucking and eating and everything fine, but that preterm baby cannot do that, and so they have issues with feeding. So you notice that in most of the NICUs, you might have to start with passing a tube from your nose to your stomach or from your mouth to your stomach, and then we give you the milk slowly until the time that the mother will start giving you by spoon and cup, and then from there, if you are big enough or you start developing well, then we start putting you to breast and all that. So they have issues. So these are some of the acute problems that might happen. Even during the feeding, might develop complications with their tummy and all that. They have issues with their kidney function, and they might even develop anemia at a point in time because as they start growing very well, their blood will have to be matching to their growth, and sometimes the blood tend to lag behind. So all this will cause them problems.
So this is a special condition. It exposes them
to a lot of patients.
But at what age can you say that your child is fine?
No, your child is fine. One of the things that you can use to tell that your baby is fine is one, if the baby is able to go off oxygen or any machine and he can breathe well on himself. That's a very good point. The baby is feeding well. The baby can keep the body temperature without you doing excessive thing for the baby.
Okay.
So all these things are some of the things that you want to put across. So it depends. If you can be 28 weeks, but then you'll be fine. You can. But as I said, if your baby is 34 weeks going, you're okay, because 34 weeks the baby can breastfeed. All right, the sac is okay, you can breastfeed and all that. You can control the body temperature better than so these are some of the issues. And I was talking about the complications, so I talk about the very immediate ones. So long-term complications are also there. But this is not to scare people who have preterm babies or who develop preterm babies in future. That one of the complications is, as I said, they might bleed into their brain. So it might cause them issues with maybe walking and talking and hearing issues and all that. This thing might happen. Some they might go home on oxygen for some time before they are weaned off completely, because then they have lung issues. As I said, some of them too might have issues with the vision. For example, if you have a lot of oxygen exposed to you as a premature baby, it might affect your vision, your eye. And so all these problems are problems that we know and we anticipate. And so we tend to do some things that will prevent all these complications.
Okay. So you know, to the psychologist, how do you prepare a woman who comes to the hospital to deliver, and they can't have their babies immediately after delivery? We've also heard stories of fathers either running away, or sometimes the mothers leaving their babies because it's impossible. I mean, that's a really tiny child. It couldn't be mine.
Well, to say prepare would mean that you have ample time, you know, but this is quite an emergency, or it's something nobody expects. Now, our job as psychologists in that sense would be to make them realize how normal it is for this to happen. You see, in most cases, when you believe something to be extreme, your reactions are quite different from if you believe that it's something that can happen. Now, there have been times where you had to give some form of counseling, because they say, based on what we are seeing, you might have to go into surgery shortly, and then you have mothers who develop a reaction, so they get really anxious about having to go into surgery. Now, that's different from when the babies are born and they have no access to their children. They can't hold their child. They only see their child with tubes all around them, and then they start to mentally process what it is. Now, most of them will make statements like, is it my fault? And they start to experience feelings of guilt, or they start to worry excessively. And like you mentioned, if you had a husband who wanted to bolt as a result of that, it will add on to the mother's stress. Our job is to desensitize them from all such thinking patterns. Now, we tend to act on what we think. So if I have a belief that it was my fault. Now, I've had a classic example. A mother who was having marital issues was the husband. So they used to verbally fight a lot, and then she went into labor. She lost the baby. She blamed herself for it. We had to work with her severally for her to, get off that negative label in her mind on that. See, when you even look at the long-term effects of being preterm, there are aspects which go into the psychological realm. So these children may have learning disabilities going on. Some of them may be predisposed to things that could they might have conduct disorders and things like that. So for sometimes physically they might be well. Then they start school in about between 5 and 7 years. You notice that the academic performance is terrible. And it becomes a difficult thing for the family to digest in most cases. So that aspect is there.
Do I hear you saying that you have to keep an eye on that child?
Excellent. You have to. You really have to. So for us psychologists, one important thing we always try to find out is, at what age did the child walk? At what age did they talk? Okay. Now, once we have, those are what we call developmental milestones. If there was a delay, there is a possibility that they might go on to have some significant psychological disruption. Okay. And so we start to focus on those things and stage interventions as quickly as possible.
We'll have to wrap up on this real quick, but I promised I was going to ask for those who have been to Kolebu, who've delivered preterm babies and the way they are kept. I just want to ask you real quick. Is there a possibility that your baby could be swapped?
Okay. So let me ask this question. So it is really not possible that your baby will be swapped, because there are processes that if you deliver, your baby will be put through, okay? For example, if you deliver at the labor ward, any labor ward in Ghana here, your baby will be shown to you, okay? It will be shown to you, because most of these mothers, even if you had a cesarean section, it is a spinal anesthesia, and so you are conscious. So you'll be shown your baby, and you'll be told the sex and all that. In fact, you'll be asked to mention the sex of the baby. Okay, so you will know your baby first. And then after that, they will put a label on your baby's risk. So even the labels are even color-coded. If you are a boy, you'll be given a blue label. If you are a armband, if you are a girl, you'll be given a pink label. Of course, sometimes maybe there could be...
but there are so many of the babies.
Yes.
There's so many girls and there's so many boys.
After that, the name of the mother is written on the label. Okay, so if you delivered, it's good to say preterm baby, your baby will be named Baby Mama V. So that's your name on the label. So that's your name on the label. The baby is taken to the NICU, and the nurses are very, very particular, very professional. They know all this baby. They work on that. So it is not possible that your baby will be swapped.
Okay.
It's not something that it can easily be. The quality control, quality checks are high, that nobody will swap your baby for another baby.
Okay.
And then, of course, even before you take baby to the NICU, sometimes the parents will be available, or the father will be there, or a grandmother will be there. They will see the baby and all that. They will come to the NICU and see the baby. So swapping babies are not possible.
Thank you for the assurance.
I'd like to chip in something very quickly. You see, I've had instances where mothers have come to say they've swapped my baby, or because the baby passed on, or something like that. But that's how we all deal with loss. Okay? You go into a state of denial, and the denial is where you believe that's not your baby. It's a complex psychological process. So these things might, of course, affect such occurrences or instances of report about my baby is being swapped. That's not my baby, because they're dealing with a loss.
Yeah. Okay. I think the other important thing that, because of time, we're not able to touch on is the fact that you say if you've had a preterm baby, the possibility of you having subsequent preterm babies is very high.
So it's one of the commonest cause of preterm delivery. If you had a baby, you are at risk of subsequent preterm deliveries.
All right.
Okay, but the other thing I want to add, and please, I think it's important here, is that when the mothers come to the NICU, as Seth said, there are lots of psychological issues, and so we involve them. But the mothers go to a lot of problems, a lot of depressions and all sorts of things, and so the community is supposed to help. The family are supposed to help. We have what is called the family-centered care. So it's important that everybody comes on board and helps. These babies are not cockroaches. They are not lizards. They are also human beings.
Yeah, yes. I like that very much. And I think maybe after we've seen the full documentary later on at 8:30 p.m., we'll probably have nurses in the studio tomorrow. We're going to work on that, because there are nurses who see a lot of these babies. I mean, they've gotten used to it, that they think, oh, it's normal. So if you're a mother and you're going through it, it's normal. They don't handle you like we've heard you two say it here, but we're just going to leave it till after tomorrow.
Ask them tomorrow, but I'm
not all the nurses.
I'm not sure.
But there are some of the nurses.
I'm not sure your point is
really
real.
Okay, so he's disputing it.
I think there are lots of people who can attest to the very professional and motherly care that the mothers give, the nurses give to the mothers and the premature babies.
Okay.
Sometimes because they are so skilled in doing their job, you will see it as if they don't care.
Okay.
It is not because of that. It's just because they have a way of doing things.
All right.
So
I think it's a very important angle that we can discuss. But thank you so much for your time this morning.